Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre.
I'm exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
I'm so good.
Blocks to bold, brass to gold, better to best. We all get caught in mental mazes, believing that we have to live the way others see us, or being taught to think things through. Dr. Kyre is an agent of change using GEOTRAN human programming and activations to quickly and easily release people from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block their healthy, wealthy, happy life. Instead of going where our innate circuitry takes us. Being in alignment with you is the best way to create your best life. Are you ready to be your best self? Being Your Best You with Dr. Kyre. Welcome to the show.
Hey, this is Dr. Kyre. I am in Vichy, France, where the weather is absolutely beautiful. Hooray! Anyway, we're going to talk about a couple of interlocking subjects tonight. As you see, it's just me. No interview tonight. It's just dear little me talking to you. So, the first thing I want to talk about is GEOTRAN. You know, here's the little thing under my name saying GEOTRAN for the gold, and very naturally, because there are only 40 of us in the world who are GEOTRAN practitioners, everybody else says, what the heck is GEOTRAN? Okay. GEOTRAN is a programming language for the inner biocomputers. Now, I want you to understand that there are many things that you are as a human being. And one of them, structurally speaking, is a bunch of computers that are like linked together as a local area network. And these computers govern what you create or attract, or what you're attracted to, or what you manifest in the physical realm. So in point of fact, tonight's program is basically going to be about manifestation, but I'm going to start with the first steps. Yeah. I'm going to start with some GEOTRAN. So GEOTRAN, as a language, the language of all possibilities, was created by my teacher, Dorothy Espio. Now, you probably heard this story before, but I actually trained as an architect. And I came back to the US. I trained as an architect in Britain. And I came back to the US in 1992. And I spent 4 or 5 years working as an architect before I realized that I was really not enjoying myself. And I have the kind of personality that if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing while I'm doing it, then I get bored, I get distracted, I lose focus, and basically I'm not having a very good time. But I was surrounded by architects who are very passionate about architecture. So I saw the contrast. Here were people who, and being an architect is what they were. It wasn't just something they could do. It was something I could do. And my mom had died and left me a little bit of money. I thought, you know what? Life is too short. I'm going to go find what I could be as passionate about as these architects are. You know, I mean, no blame, no judgment. I wanted to be and do and have and serve the way I am designed to do it. I didn't at that time know about the inner computers. So I sublet my apartment. I hopped in my car. I went south and west because by this time I had been 20 years in Great Britain and 5 years in Vermont. I had 25 years of cold and precipitation. I was done. So I ended up in, of all places, Arizona. At least it's sunny, dry. And I met Dorothy in a business meeting about something else entirely. And she said, would you, I'm going to give a demonstration of what I do next Tuesday if you'd like to come. So I went along, and there were about 15 of us, and she was showing us some really remarkable things that she could do. using muscle testing to find out where somebody was off, where somebody was weakened by their experience or by their belief or whatever it was she was working on. And then how to change it. And she was actually working specifically with money. She was sort of handing dollar bills to the person in front of the room and showing how that person, like everybody else, had a very set amount of money that she could receive or earn or create or manifest in a given month. And if it was even $1 more than that, it's a very specific amount for each person. If it's even $1 more than that, the muscle testing would go down, the field, the power, the energy in the computers would be lessened, and the person would start creating self-sabotage or illness or car accidents or something that was going to use up that excess money. Well, she said something that's really stuck with me. She said, if you have health issues, if you have family patterns, dysfunctional family patterns, I thought, oh yeah, I know about those. If you are not making enough money or as much money as you would like to have the kind of life that you want to have, if you are having the same romantic relationship over and over again, just with different people. And I thought, okay, I got to put my hand up for that too. If any of these are going on, that these are programming issues. Now, I come from a family of computer programmers. My father met my stepmother, his second wife, in the 1950s at IBM. I grew up being able to read punch cards. So when somebody talks to me about programming issues, it's like, oh, that means we can fix them. And that's how I was introduced to GEOTRAN as a method of recoding those inner biocomputers. Okay, so there are 4 main biocomputers. There are also other parts of your system. There are actually 12 computers, but there's really, if we can just get the main 4 clear, we're doing really, really well. There's your mortal soul, which acts as your operating system. There are other bits and pieces. It's a lovely, intricate, and I love intricate systems. So I was just all over it. And I actually stayed in Arizona, and I worked in Dorothy's office for 3 years. Now, this had a couple of really big benefits for me. One, I know more about pouring and labeling 1-ounce remedy bottles than any human being should ever have to learn. I am an expert. Secondly, she paid me for my work. It's a kind of an hourly wage, but the big benefit, the big perk was that I got to go to any class that she was teaching for free, and I did. Also working with her because she was extremely energy sensitive, and of course she was the leading expert in GEOTRAN because she had created it. If I walked into that office and there was something on me, I heard about it. So I had a crash course in learning how to clear myself, because if I didn't clear it, one of my colleagues or Dorothy herself would jump in, and that could be a little bit rough on the nervous system. I'm thankful, don't get me wrong. But woo! And I found out after about a year, I thought, oh my God, this is what I was looking for. This was what I was looking for. This was taking all of my past history and working with all the parts of me that naturally leaned into a certain kind of genius. And I found I was very good at it. So that's always an attractive quality, when you find something that you're really good at, then we always want to do more of it, of course. And I enjoyed it. So that was 26 years ago. And after 3 years in Arizona, I moved to California. I was in California for 18 years. I moved to the Midwest 4.5 years ago. And now I split my time between the Midwest and France. Okay. And thank God for the internet, because that's how I work with people. But here's the point. GEOTRAN. So with GEOTRAN is a language that uses numbers points and geometries. And it operates in the energy field. So if you picture like the electromagnetic field around every person, every living being, really, yeah, and groups also, then what's going on in the energy fields is actually a lot easier to change because the frequencies are higher and faster. So the field is made up of truth and light. It's made up of records that you can read, preferably with the divine light, but sometimes we have to work at that a little bit. This is to clear the lenses a little bit. But it's also, it's the patterns that we then create from. Okay, so here's what I want you to picture. I have a laptop in front of me. Yay! And I know that if this laptop was not working, if your laptop is not working, you would, if you're my age, go find your oldest grandchild or the nearest 19-year-old. And you say, please, would you fix my laptop? And they would sit down at your laptop, beep, 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 beep. They'd put in some codes, they'd check a few things, they'd sort of run some little miniature programs. They'd say, okay, this is the issue, and I fixed it. And you know that you could learn to do that. You know that. But you're not interested. And who's got the time? Okay, that's me. I'm that 19-year-old. I go in there and I clean up your InnoBio computers. Now, the benefit here is dealing with those programming issues. Well, doesn't matter whether it's health, wealth, relationships, self-expression, things of eternity. It's all programming issues. It's all about, are you running the programs that you were pre-programmed for before you even came into this lifetime? When you agreed with you, your eternal soul, your eternal spirit, I should say, rather, and the greater spirit or God or whatever you want to call that, divine intelligence, to give, help, serve, teach, and allow in certain ways. And you have a lot of choices about how you do that. But it's all about correctly giving, helping, serving, teaching, and allowing. And when I say correctly, I mean, is it obedient? Does it take you back into alignment with your divine blueprint? I am not talking about obedience to the military or to the government or your parents or whatever religion you grew up in. That's not what I'm talking about. To me, obedience means, is this in alignment, or does it take me into an alignment, closer alignment with my divine blueprint? That's it. So every single person I work with, without fail, I ask that question. Does it check? Is it obedient for me to work with this person? Is it obedient for this person to work with me? Is it part of the greater plan for us to work together? Because if it's not, if I am seduced by, oh, I need your help, yeah. If I'm induced to give, help, serve, teach, or allow incorrectly, that's taking me out of balance. That means that I cannot any longer merge with my higher self. Now, somewhere, Angie B., our lovely producer, has got a little diagram with two pyramids. If you could bring that up, Angie B., that'd be terrific. Now, the point up pyramid is your human self, okay? It comes in 3 layers: physical, soul, spirit in the pointy bit. Ah, there it is. Thank you so much. You see what I'm saying? Physical, soul. Now, the soul is your psyche, yeah? People who don't use language the way I do talk about the soul as being the eternal part. It's not. The soul or psyche is what you think, feel, believe, and desire. Okay? And it forms the cup. It's the personality self that holds your spirit, that shapes your spirit, right? But it is not the same as your spirit. Now, the spirit is always okay. The spirit is fine. The spirit is already redeemed, if you want to put it that way. The spirit is able to hear what the Spirit of God, which is the pointy bit of the point down pyramid, that's the God self, then it's able to listen to the Spirit of God, which is the Holy Spirit, or Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit promise, or Ghost promise, depending on your theology. Okay, so the way we are designed to run is to have the God physical right up there at the top, which includes the immortal soul, which is your operating system, and includes some other stuff too, to speak to or instruct the God soul. So that's the heart of God, the mind of God, the soul of God, and the favor of God. Pay attention to favor there. And then that tells the Holy Spirit what to do. And on a good day, that makes the leap into your spirit. And then it gets blocked by the soul. Because for most of us, that soul level, that psyche, that personality self is so choked up that the inspiration is unable to get into the physical realm. Yeah, so at each of these levels, that high, fast spirit of excellence gets slower and muddier, I'm sorry to tell you, at least when it gets to the soul level. So we all have lots and lots of imprints. Now, I'm using the word imprints really, really loosely. I don't care what you call those blockages. They can be toxic memories, toxic beliefs, toxic experiences. They can come from you. They can come from somebody else. They can come from whatever society or culture or country or religion you grew up with. They can come from a genetic line contamination. My experience is that 80% comes from somebody else. And by somebody else, I mean a person, place, or thing that is not you. And that's not even supposed to be in your field. Because, especially below the age of 10 years old, we're operating totally from the subconscious, and the subconscious is being bombarded by the subconscious of everybody else around you. Right? So you end up running the equivalent of computer viruses. And if you have a computer virus, and normally more than one in there, that means 3 possible results. 1, you're going to run a program you don't want to run, which could be loss, lack, poverty, Pharisee, hatred, greed, victim, grudges. I can't, I won't, worry, judgment, unforgiveness, blame. And the nastiest one of these is envy. Envy is always toxic, right? So, running a program you don't want to run. 2, maybe you have a strong immune system. Yeah, maybe you have a viral scanning program in there that says, no, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. No, not that one either. Right. Okay. But then you're using up system resources. So your computer's slowing down. 3rd possibility, your computer crashes. And that's when we get these mystery ailments. Right? So think about how many mystery ailments have really come up in the last, say, 50 years. Yeah, chronic fatigue, hysterical fatigue, Lyme disease is another one. Yeah. And this is because we have been so bombarded, our immune systems have been taken out by contamination of one sort and another. And sometimes it's physical. Yeah. Sometimes it's physical contamination, I meant to say, like pollution of one sort and another. But often, very often, it is something going on in the soul level. That's what you think, feel, believe, desire, your emotions, your mental, functioning, and your will. Yeah? Now, good news is, it's a lot easier to change things there than it is to change them in the physical. This is why people who are in my line of work, let's say you suddenly get an illness. Let me use an example from my own life. Until I was 8 years old, I had perfect 20/20 eyesight. And in the course of a year, it degraded to the point where I had to wear glasses. So at 8.5 years old, I'm wearing glasses. What we say in my world is, okay, what happened a year before? It takes about a year for a shock, a trauma, or whatever to work through into the physical. Well, what had happened when I was 7.5 is my father's 3rd child was born. He was a son. And suddenly I went from being my father's favorite to being nobody's favorite in the family. So this is something I really did not want to be looking at. eyesight. And this is true of pretty much any physical condition. I'm sure there are exceptions, but I haven't come across them very often. My experience is that 98% of physical conditions can be reversed, and 98% of physical conditions start with a non-physical cause. And that if we can address that cause directly, if we can release that pattern, if we can clear that computer virus equivalent, then it's very, very much easier to change the physical symptoms. Very good question there. It takes a year for trauma to run through my body. That's not exactly what I'm saying, but it's kind of close. At any rate, yes, I mean, there are obviously traumas that affect you immediately. If you're in a car accident and your leg is broken, that's an immediate effect in the physical, clearly, right? I'm talking more like chronic illnesses, of which the big one that would be on everybody's mind automatically would be cancer. You know, but cancer is actually no more nor less difficult to deal with than any other chronic illness, if you have the tools to go and find the actual cause. So what's closer to my experience, at least, is, let's say you have a parent who dies, and a year later, you find that you have lung problems. Because in traditional Chinese medicine, each of the organs, each of the meridians, has a particular set of physical symptoms and non-physical patterns. And the lungs are the part that deal with grief, guilt, and sorrow. So, parent dies, you're thrown for a loop, and it turns off your lung meridians or impedes their lung meridians. And we get to go back to when that happened and change the situation so that it's not that you didn't have that experience. Of course you had that experience if you actually had that experience in the physical. It's how you interpreted it. So I am very, very frequently clearing things from people that happened before they were 10 years old. And what we'll very often do is we will create a grown-up person, maybe them as an adult. I mainly work with women, so I'm going to use the female pronouns. Maybe just today, I was helping somebody create an aunt, their favorite aunt, who they were named after. Doesn't matter whether this person existed in real life. Because to those computer systems, so we're getting back to the computers, to the computer systems in you, there is no difference between imagination, fantasy, dream, belief, experience, and it can also be somebody else's experience. My teacher, again, going back to my own life here, my parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and my teacher said to me, after I'd been working with her for about 5 years, she said, I just got this really strong feeling that you are still processing both sides of your parents' divorce. How your father looks at women, how your mother looks at men. And when I looked at my own romantic history, I thought, I think she's right. So we cleared it. We can go back to the time when it happened and change it. And that's why my teacher always said, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Okay, GEOTRAN. Now, the way we use GEOTRAN, remember I said it was points, numbers, and geometries. And it's really very simple. I mean, it's a system with a lot of moving parts, but each part is actually pretty straightforward. For example, I was demonstrating to somebody today that if I were to touch right here between my breasts, right? And it's off. And that is your self-esteem point. Right hand clockwise, 4-2. Touch the point again, it's on, right? All I'm doing is I'm going in there and resetting part of the circuitry. That's all. Just the same way that acupuncture, you can go and regulate, you can amplify, you can diminish the energy running through the circuits. Same thing with GEOTRAN. Only, thank God, without the needles. Now, is self-doubt like a computer virus in my body? Oh, I love that. That is such a good question. Good job. Okay. There are 2 answers to that. Well, really, there are 3 answers to that. I'm a Gemini, can you tell? Okay, so there are 3 answers to that in this sense. Firstly, is it your self-doubt? Or did you pick it up from someone else? Okay? So we would deal with it one way if it's your self-doubt. We would deal with it another way if it's somebody else's self-doubt. That has created a file in your system, and it's been there long enough that you think it belongs to you because your system can't tell the difference. I can't tell you how often I end up saying to my clients, okay, we're going to take you back to that point, and what your favorite aunt is going to say to you is, this is not about you. Of course, we each think we're the center of our own universe. Of course. Okay. So if it's not about you, then we just need to throw it out. Splat. With sound effects. That's the fun part. Okay. Now, the third option is this. And here's where I'm really getting back around to manifestation as our topic tonight. The operating system of the human being is faith. And the backup, when faith fails, the backup operating system is patience. Now, every part of the plan of God has been duplicated. There's a below-the-line mimic for every part. So the God, and I'm going to have to use all this word really loosely. Please don't catch me up on my theology because that's not my area of expertise. I'm just going to tell you as was taught to me. And I truly believe it to be the case. The God of this world, if I can use that expression loosely, so that the lower energies that keep us all stuck, also has an operating system, right? And the operating system is fear. And the backup system is doubt. So is this self-doubt about your operating system? Is it affecting your operating system? We're still going to throw it out. Okay. And whenever we throw something out, whenever something is not you or not God in your system incorrectly, we pick it up, we throw it, whee, with sound effects. Why do we do this? Because like all of GEOTRAN, we are getting the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain to act together, right? So the right side of the brain only responds to images and actions, and the left side of the brain only responds to words and sounds. So all GEOTRAN always has actions and sounds together. So when we're throwing something out, action and sound together. Wah! Splat! Plus it's fun. So getting back to faith. The operating system is faith. The backup operating system is patience. And here's where it's really important at where we are right now, especially in the US and especially politically, okay? And I'm not trying to judge anybody else's politics, although I know what I think and feel and believe. But look, the whole problem with conspiracy theories of one sort and another, at one level and another, is that they are entirely based on fear and doubt. They are getting you to be fearful about something and to doubt science, to doubt your own faith, to doubt your own understanding, to doubt whatever, okay? So something that is inherently based on fear and doubt, the only thing it can do is to take out your faith and patience. So you are no longer able to run your own operating system correctly. So please, and I'm saying this in a non-political way, when you brush up against conspiracy theories, turn and walk away. If it doesn't, whatever it is you're hearing does not increase your knowledge, wisdom, understanding, your faith, and your patience, then it is not for you, my friend. Let somebody else wrestle with it. because it's just going to take up your time and your energy, and it's not going to help your computers process any better. Okay, so getting over to manifestation and GEOTRAN. All right. So I was actually, earlier today, I was teaching a masterclass. And if you're interested in watching the replays, you get to go to my Facebook group, which is called Light Me Up Coaching on Facebook. You have to join the group. But there's a whole lot of videos under the guides, and you can watch the replays if you want. Now, because those computers are governing your physical manifestation, because the physical manifestation comes out of what's going on at the soul level, right? Then it's really important to start clearing out that soul level. And specifically, let's just talk about money specifically, because I know that that's been a great concern for certainly in the US and then people around the world. You know, we're all struggling a bit on the physical manifestation, resource, money side. Okay, that's why I do master classes on this topic. You have a very specific ceiling on what you will allow yourself to receive. I said that earlier, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I may have passed on since then. Yeah, but you know, seriously, I can work with anybody and find out within a minute or two what they are allowing themselves to receive. Now, how do I do that? I do that with muscle testing. And I understand there have been some questions about what muscle testing is. Okay, so I'm going to just do a little sidebar here for a second. And again, if you go and look in my Facebook group, which is Light Me Up Coaching on Facebook, then you will see some guides that I have an article on 6 different forms of muscle testing. And I think I also do a couple of demonstration videos. Okay, here's the deal. Every cell in your body acts like a little battery. Yeah. It has a certain charge, a certain direction to it. Okay. Now, when you ask a question with a yes/no answer, we do not ask why questions. If you have to ask a why question, you need to reframe the question. A much better question is, what's a better question? Not to be recursive. So when you ask a question that has a yes/no answer, you can ask your body intelligence. You can ask your entire field for the answer. And without going through your rational mind, you can get a yes/no answer using muscle testing. All these little cells, if there's more life force energy going through it, if you have a strong response, if the arm stays up, if you're doing arm testing, then that's a yes answer. There's more energy for that, whatever the question is. If there's less life force energy going through, then the arm will go down, or the fingers will be sticky, depending on what actual mode of muscle testing you're using. If you're using a sway test, for instance, so you're standing very, very tall and you're either going to go forward or back. That's a really good one for beginners to use because you feel it so immediately. Yeah, so forward is yes, back is no. So think about, you put something, food in front of you, something to eat or drink in front of you, and you're asking, is it obedient for me to have this? Does this check for me? Yeah, you're either going to go forward, yes, it's good, or back. Yeah. Now, I personally like one-handed muscle testing because I can do it while I'm driving. And when I'm demonstrating, most of my colleagues use this when demonstrating because the person can do it on themselves. Yeah, so this would be a yes, it stands firm, and that would be a no. Okay, I like this one. Right? There's more energy going through my hands. It's very easy for the fingers to pass each other by, and you'll actually hear the sound. And I'm very auditory, you may have noticed. That's a yes. If there's less energy, the fingers are sticky. They don't pass each other. They don't make a sound. Yeah? So it's super, super easy. My name is Kyre. My name is Clara. My name is Henry. Yeah? My last name is Adep. I am married. No. Yeah, you see how easy this is? You just go out and practice. Actually, what I do is I send my students out to the supermarket or to Chinese restaurants. Yeah? Because we start with unimportant questions. In fact, we start with unimportant questions you do know the answer to so that you can feel what the yes, no is. We go on to unimportant questions you don't know the answer to. Yeah, we're just for those first couple of weeks, we are just getting you and your body into alignment with a yes or a no. That's it. We don't use it for important questions to start with. I mean, I actually taught a group of people how to do the muscle testing, and I was doing a kind of every 2 weeks clearing, healing thing for the group. And I didn't see this one gal for a couple of months. And I said, "Oh, have you been away?" He says, "Yeah. I heard to get back together with my high school sweetheart in Texas." I said, "Did you check that?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you not hear the bit about unimportant questions until you're 100% comfortable?" Hey, I am 97% accurate for other people with my muscle testing, but even I go to my colleagues when it's an important question that I'm not getting a really clear read on. But of course, the more you practice it, the easier it is, the more clear the information becomes. Okay, so end of sidebar. So with GEOTRAN, what we're doing here is we are always, always, always checking. Yeah. So I would start with somebody. I would say, "What percent are you?" And they would guess. And I would know it was a guess. And they would know it was a guess. And that's okay. It's a good start. But I'd muscle test. Okay, you're 59% you. Okay, that means 41% of what's going on in you, in your computers, is not you. It's somebody else's beliefs, thoughts, feelings, desires. It's not you. So let's throw them out. And we will identify them. And we will keep doing that. And I'll be checking. Okay, so the first person is a male, it's a female person. Okay. And we'll find out who that is. Well, spot. And the second thing is the first place, it's a thing. Okay, we'll find out what that thing is. Well, spot. Okay, until they check us 100% who they're designed to be. Then we get in and we start resetting stuff. Yeah. So it's actually very scientific. It just looks like magic. And of course, I always have my wand just in case people need a visual. But yeah, it's actually really, really straightforward. It's just something that most people haven't come across yet. So they don't have a picture. So part of my purpose on this very set of episodes is to give you a picture. Because it may be that the person watching right now could really do with some GEOTRAN help. In which case I invite you to get in touch with me. Because this is what I love to do. This is my service. This is how I give, help, serve, teach, and allow. Okay, so there's the connection between GEOTRAN and faith. Now, my teacher Dorothy always said that she started working with people primarily with dyslexia to start with. All the dyslexia means is that the information does not cross the midline. That's it. You can be dyslexic for anything. Think about John Wayne. Have you ever noticed the odd way he walks? He does not have left leg forward, right arm forward, which is how most people walk. He's got left arm and leg together, right arm and leg together. This is dyslexic. You can be dyslexic for golfing. I mean, I've never been interested in golfing, but if you're going to do it, at least make sure you're not dyslexic. So Dorothy always said that she could actually clear dyslexia with pretty much any school child within about 10 days. It's just a matter of retraining, resetting the circuits. This is why GEOTRAN is also called whole brain education. We have both sides of the brain and we are meant to use them. So what does all of this have to do? Okay, I think, so I'm sorry, I was getting back to faith for a minute. And Dorothy said that, no, she's always been a woman of faith. Always. And what she realized was that by cleaning up these circuits in the person, in the human computer, she was making room for spirit to come in. And Dorothy never cared what actual religion anybody claimed to be or to grow up in, which is, helpful for me because I did not grow up in the same religion that she did. But what she did see was whether people were really in alignment with that Christed self, with that spirit of excellence, no matter what it was dressed up with in religious terms. That was the core experience as far as she was concerned. And all of GEOTRAN is based on those principles. And the point about faith is that it's the operating system. Now, what I want to connect here for you before I talk about manifestation is that we are meant to be excellent. And when we live within the box of other people's expectations, that always leads to mediocrity, and mediocrity is the enemy of excellence. Okay, let's talk about manifestation. So, if our computers are running on faith, and also on a higher level, they're running on grace, which is the generosity of God, and obedience, which is alignment with your own, between your human and divine selves. Okay, so you remember those pyramids I showed you earlier, or that Andy set up for us earlier? When you are 100% in balance and harmony with yourself, with all those levels, and your God self with all those levels, they slide together and they form the Star of David. And that's the symbolism of the Star of David. That's the meaning of it. That's the significance of it. And it means then you are walking around with God in you and you in God. And then you are doing your service here on this earth. Now, if God could do everything that God wanted to do on this planet without us, it would be done. As the human race, our overall purpose is to recreate heaven on earth, like a franchise. That's what we're here to do. And 90% of what's going on is in the subconscious. So we don't know this, and we don't know where we're blocked, and we don't know what to do about it. And we're wandering around in this sort of, cloud of unknowing. And I don't mean that in a good sense. So when we can get clear, when we can get those pyramids to slide together, manifestation is the easiest thing this side of chocolate cake. I don't know what that means, but it sounded good, didn't it? Okay, that's why I run the Church of Chocolate, as you probably know, which is also a group that I have on Facebook. So Church of Chocolate, go look for it. Okay, so the manifestation part is how do we take the divine inspiration, run it through all the levels, clear up our psyche so that we can get it into the physical. That's all that manifestation means. It's crystallizing those possibilities, that potential, out of the field into the physical, where we can actually touch it and use it and be resourceful with it. Okay. So you could say that, all right, the computers are governing, for example, how much money you can bring in. What we're really saying is what is required to get that desire in faith through the cable to the printer, right? So the printer is like the physical action part. How can we do that? Okay. Well, the main way we do it is by removing the perturbation factors. Okay. So first we clear all of those beliefs from childhood or from little disasters that we've had in our world, or loss, lack, failure, whatever that our parents maybe experienced. I mean, I don't know about you, but my parents actually were born during the Depression. So their parents, my grandparents, had this whole boatload of beliefs about not enough. In fact, the core disease of the human race is a belief in not enough. I mean, this is obviously nonsense. But we've structured our entire society around this idea that there's not enough. Now, there may be awkward resource management, but there's certainly enough. And put that together with what you focus on is what you get more of. Okay. So, if we're focused on lack, if we're focused on worrying about paying our bills, if we're focused on any of that not enough stuff, we're going to get more. Hey, I don't make these rules. I'm telling you, this is the way the universe works. Whatever you focus on, good, bad, or indifferent, that's what you're going to get more of. Exactly. We just had an interview with the very wonderful Andrea Wolf. Where you choose to focus determines your life. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So you can, I think it was Einstein who said, you can either act as if everything's a disaster or everything's a miracle, and that the universe is looking out for you. And this is not some naive Pollyanna-ish kind of belief. This is faith. The faith that the universe supports us. And then we are going to see as significant those examples. I actually did a post very recently about accidental upgrades, where my friend bought me a new laptop, and he by mistake ordered one that was better than the one that I asked him for. I was barely able to catch a train coming back from Provence last week, so I accidentally ended up in first class, and the conductors came by and said, no, nobody else has reserved the seat, just stay right where you are. Actually, I was once flying back from Paris to LA, nonstop, Air France out of Paris. And there was chaos at the airport. I've never really liked the Charles de Gaulle airport, but that's a different question. And the Air France person said, we don't have a seat for you. And I said to her in French, excuse me, I have a confirmed reservation on this flight. And she said, you know, the way French people do, God bless them. I walked away and I said, you know what? I know how to deal with this. I'm an energy person, for heaven's sake. And I just pictured being on the plane, that it was comfortable, that the food was good, that I had a little glass of champagne, that I got some sleep. It was a 14-hour flight. That I arrived on time, left on time, arrived on time, that the person was there to meet me at 4 a.m. I was the last person to board, and they put me in first class. It's just a matter of clearing the nonsense out of your way. And knowing and relying and having the faith that good things are coming your way. Yeah, getting that into both sides of your brain. Because we have a culture that very much relies on the left side of the brain, the logic part. And there's nothing wrong with logic. I grew up with that stuff. But it's only half the story. It's the details. The right brain is the big picture. And the right brain runs on faith. Dorothy always said, God is right-brained. Or at least Mother God is right-brained. Works for me. So I work a lot with people about money, because I want them to have the resources they need to create the life that they want. Plus, that means they can pay me, which helps me create the life that I want. But here's the thing. I don't rely on my clients. God is my provider. Large, rich, lavish, opulent financial money surprises come to me now, and I am happy. I'm grateful. That gratitude keeps the valve open. That gratitude attracts more to be grateful for. If you're feeling shut down and what's the word I'm looking for? The opposite of expansive, contracted, yeah? Then look at something around you that lifts your spirits, that you think, oh my gosh, I'm just so happy that I have, I don't know, my iPhone. I have a separate phone here in France. It's like, oh, I'm so thrilled that I have that. I have this very nice little wand, you know? Get back in the now and realize that you're being looked after and be grateful for it. And even the things that look like they're a mistake. What if you were to turn your focus so that they became accidental upgrades? I was working on this the other day. You know, I have a group on Facebook that I talk to most days, and I have clients. You know, and we work on their finances. And I was remembering that there are 20 different directions from which money can come to me. Doesn't have to be my clients. It's certainly not ever going to be a job. I haven't had a job in like 20 odd years. But somehow the money comes in. 2 days ago, I looked at my emails. I do a couple of times a day. And someone had tithed to me $1,400. That was not earned money. That was not money in exchange for my time. That was money coming to me because I was focused on gratitude and on receiving. And trust me on this, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I grew up in the most left-brain way you can possibly imagine. That's why I like working with academics who have come to the end of their tether. You know, and other professional women. I mainly work with women. I don't not work with men, but I mainly work with women. Because they have been taught a very restricted way of looking at the world. They have never been taught to manifest. None of us have been taught to manifest. It's something we have to learn. But, you know, here's one of those places where it can be very exciting to look at babies and pets. Babies just naturally assume that, of course, they're going to be looked after. They don't have any other picture of the world. And they're right most of the time. I mean, obviously, there are exceptions. But, you know, also cats, especially. Dogs, maybe less so. The cats, like, man, whatever it is they want, they just want it. That's it. Yeah. And obviously the world is set up to look after them. Clearly. Well, that's a place where we get to jump back in to that energy of, I'm having a great time. One of my favorite comic strips is Calvin and Hobbes. Now, unlike, say, Lewis Carroll, who had a completely unrealistic view of what children are like, Calvin is obstreperous and self-centered, and, you know, I would not actually want to meet a person, child or adult, who is really like Calvin in real life. But here's what I like about him. It's like he and Hobbes go out there and life is one big adventure. And so they create that because that's what they're focused on. So what would it take for you to know that what you desire, righteous desires, I'm not talking from a religious point of view, the things that really light up your heart, the things that are really meant for you, like me finding GEOTRAN, it's like, oh, those things, that wow factor. What would it take for you to have some kind of faith in that? And then you start letting go of the parts, the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the desires that don't match, that don't match who you are, that don't check for you. They may be fine for somebody else, but they're not you. And be drawn by that part of you that says, yes, that. And we can see this on a small scale, on a large scale. We're getting into the hurricane season, and half the time I live in the Midwest, and this is a concern for us. Did you know that actually changing the weather is one of the easiest things you can do? It's a matter of faith. And I don't mean just launching some little hope and hoping that it comes to fruition. Sit down. I have a list. Ask what force of faith you need to turn that storm. What force of faith do you need to turn that storm? Who's willing to help you? That's where the list comes in. I have a list of like 1,200 saints, guides, masters, divine helpers, whatever. See, if you're going in with the belief that you're powerless, that's what you'll get. If you go in knowing that your energy in the field, especially if you're gathered together in a group of like-minded people, you can take that storm down from an 8 to a 1 in maybe half an hour. You can turn that storm, the path of that storm, out to sea, if you gather in a force of faith bigger than the storm. Now, there's a specific reason I mention this, because there are a lot of people who are talking up a storm about the economy. Actually, the economy is doing better now than it has been for the last 10 years. So get over yourselves, guys. Look at your beliefs. Yeah? But there are people who are struggling. I'm not saying that they're not. And definitely COVID has had a big impact. Mm-hmm. But have some faith. Picture the way you want your life to be. Picture ease and grace and gratitude. Spend a little time in the promised land, heaven on earth. And then, when you're stable in that field, when your faith is where it should be, when your operating system is working without these computer viruses, without these toxic beliefs and experiences and memories, then, and only then, take the steps, the action steps that you are inspired to take. Do not worry about the end result. Put it in the hands of Spirit. Put it in the hands of God. But listen to your heart and do your muscle testing and ask for the first step, not the 10th, not the 20th, the first step, because it will be there and you will know it. And give thanks in advance that everything you desire is coming to you now. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I really appreciate it. If there's any way I can help, you can see where to get in touch with me.